Okay, so what's the difference between social goods, sometimes called public goods, common pool resources, and private goods? And who is best at providing them? So, private goods, we all know these things. It's our clothes, it's our food, it's our car, it's uh, our house, it's um, the things that we buy, we pay for, we own, and we have exclusive control over. And businesses are very good at providing these kinds of goods because they have a price point and people can choose to buy them or not. Public goods and social goods, on the other hand, these are products that everybody uses, and things like our roads, our public transport system, our legal system, healthcare and education, the public part, free-to-air TV. It doesn't matter how many people are using it, everybody can use it for free. Things like disaster response or scientific research that happens. These are all things that have positive externalities and everybody uses and everyone can use it for free. Sometimes these products can be underproduced, overused, and degraded because who pays for them? The government has to pay for them, and there's always competition for the money to get things done. So, say for example, there's not enough money to pay for emergency responses for women in domestic violence situations, for example. So that service is underprovided. I would say the same of mental health services. And homelessness services, these kinds of things, nobody can. The people who need the service can't pay for it, so somebody has to pay for it and nobody wants to, right? Okay, so these are public goods, but they have positive externalities. If everybody has education, if everybody's healthy, if everyone's got a home, if nobody's subject to violence, if there's justice, all these things are good for society overall. Common pool resources are particularly the resources that we looked at when we talked about the commons. So the fish in the ocean, the atmosphere, the water on Earth, all these things can be overused if they are not cared for. And we can care for them in three different ways. One is by privatizing, one is by government control, and one is by local community, like the users' control. So common pool resources are vulnerable to self-interested actors, including people wanting to make a profit. Let's just take bottled water, for example. Let's not talk about that. So they are non-excludable. We can't stop people from breathing the air or going fishing, but they are rivalrous in that if we use too much of them, they can be depleted or destroyed, or not available in a fair way to everybody. Okay, in Santos's paper, which we looked at in the first video this week, in his paper, he talks about who are the institutional actors in a capitalist economy, and they are governments, charities or non-profits, commercial entrepreneurs, social activists, and social entrepreneurs. And who can best provide these services? What he's saying is that governments think the way that they control things is through regulation, and they're supposed to defend the public interest, and their role in the economic system is to create to supply public goods or social goods, and also to enforce regulations on private actors. Commercial entrepreneurs or businesses, they believe that economics works through allocating resources most efficiently to the most valued activities. Their goal is to achieve a competitive advantage, and their logic is through control. We talked about social entrepreneurs looking at activities with positive externalities that aren't serviced by government or by commercial entrepreneurship, and they want to deliver sustainable solutions through empowerment. Charities or non-profit organizations, they typically work with common pool resources or social goods to deliver services also that are not provided by governments or the business sector. And they want to, well, their goal is to support disadvantaged populations or local populations, and their logic is goodwill. But I think perhaps a non-profit organization might sit somewhere between a charity and a social entrepreneur. I'm not sure. And social activists have an important role by bringing attention to negative externalities that are the result of business and government activities, and they want to change things through political action. So this is I just got this off Wikipedia. It just sorts them into two things. I wouldn't worry too much about club goods, but rivalrous private goods are excludable and rivalrous, and non-excludable are public goods and common pool resources. But common pool resources are the ones that are more rivalrous, like the more we use them, the more damaged they are. However, public goods can also get like that too. So if there's a lot of traffic on the roads, then the roads are going to get degraded, and we're going to have to build more roads. So in some ways, the more people that use it, the more that has to be provided. So it's not a really clean and clear difference between the two. It just depends. So here's an example. This story originally aired on PBS NewsHour in 2008. In the Indian state of Rajasthan, farmers have accused Coca-Cola factories of drawing too heavily on the area's water supplies and contributing to pollution. So they're talking about exploitation of the area's water, pollution of the area, and encroachment into the lands of the local people. So the benefit tends to go to the big companies. The governments want to attract international finance and investing, so they give them very good deals on things like the price of water. And then we have the negative externalities of that, which is not enough water for the local people's livestock or their own needs. So it's a shifting of value from the local people to the big company typically. And so we discussed it in class. Well, I hope we will anyway. Neoliberalism is, we talked about privatization back in week 3. And what we talked about was the fact that a lot of government services have been privatized. For example, all the water provision in the UK, or here our telecommunications, our airline, certain ports, toll roads. In the US, a lot of military applications are being privatized. Here we've privatized aged care and childcare, and that has not worked out well. To a certain extent, education is privatized and healthcare is privatized. So we've got a bit of a mixture there. But the problem is that private companies are not very well suited to supplying social goods, because private companies have this price point and they say, well, if you can't afford it, too bad. We don't want to sell to you, which is fine if you've got a product that, like a pair of jeans or whatever, or a house even. But if you've got a product that a person needs to live, like water or clean air or education or health or a police force, then these things are things that everybody needs, regardless of whether they can afford it or not, as a human right. So the problem with privatization is not that one system is better than the other, but that goods that aren't well suited to being provided by profit-making companies were put into the hands of profit-making companies. And so when we understand the difference between the different types of goods that there are, we can understand why privatization might work for some products and not for others, and why it doesn't work for others. This is a 6-minute video about the Cockabumba Water War, and it is brilliant, so I really recommend you watch it.